Hi everyone, I'm Volha. In today's video, we'll explore Notion dashboard views using a real example, a simple homepage for tasks and projects. And if you don't have the Notion business plan, don't worry, I also show you how to build a very similar alternative using classic Notion views and tabs, a new feature in Notion for switching between sections. I'll show you exactly how I turn a basic setup into a clean, organized homepage for tasks and projects. Quick note before we start: dashboard views require the Notion business plan or higher. I'll leave the dashboard version download link in the video description, and I'll also include a regular version there if you don't have access to dashboard views. By the end, you'll know how to use dashboards to manage tasks and projects, how to plan with today, this week, this month views, and how to schedule tasks by dragging them onto a calendar. A dashboard view is basically a layout that lets you combine multiple widgets in one place, like tables, boards, calendars, and summarizes, so you can manage your system from one command center instead of jumping between pages. This is perfect for a home page because it stays lightweight but still gives you a complete overview. And honestly, it also looks much cleaner and more organized. Everything sits inside a neat rectangular frame, so the layout feels structured and intentional, almost like a built-in container, similar to how you might use a callout to keep things visually grouped. Another big advantage is speed. You can create views quickly and move widgets around easily. If you try to build the same layout manually with regular blocks, it usually takes more time. And to protect the structure, you often end up locking parts of the page, which keeps things from breaking, but it's not always convenient for daily use. And one more thing, if you use this kind of layout for a public page or a site, it can look less Notion-like and more professional because the sections feel more designed and consistent. The only downside I'd mention is that inside a dashboard you can't just place anything you want, like an empty text block, an image, or a small custom element exactly where you need it. For example, I really missed being able to place a small set of buttons, like a compact button panel on the left side, grouped in a little square area inside the dashboard. Alright, now let's actually build our homepage dashboard from scratch. I'm going to show this in two versions. The business version, where we can use the new dashboard views feature, and the plus version, where we use classic Notion views plus tabs. If you're on a free plan, the layout is the same, but you may not have access to some advanced views tabs like charts. The third thing I always do is create a separate page called Databases. Inside that page, we create two core databases: Task to Do and Projects. I'll do this part pretty fast because it's simple setup. If you are new to databases, feel free to watch my other tutorials where I explain databases basics step by step. And here's the main rule I follow. I keep my original database stored separately, and on the home page I only use linked views. This way, your system stays clean and you're much less likely to accidentally delete or break the original database structure. Now we have the two core databases. In the task database, we keep only the priorities we actually use daily: name, status, priority or urgency, due date, project, optional, because not every task belongs to a project, and a Done button to change the status in one click. In the project database, we want the bigger picture: name and status, goal, outcome, what done looks like, deadline, related tasks connected to our tasks database, resources, links, files, notes, task completion percentage, so we can see progress automatically. This percentage is calculated automatically based on how many related tasks are marked as done. A Done button and a New Task button to create tasks already linked to this project. I always add a few real examples because it helps you instantly understand how the system behaves. And for tasks, I also create a simple default template with a checkmark emoji, so every new task is created with that icon automatically. Alright, let's start building our homepage. First, I want a clean, quick capture area, so I create a toggle heading and call it New Task/Project. This is where all my quick buttons will live. Inside this section, I'll create two columns. On the left, we'll keep quick buttons for tasks and projects. On the right, we'll show a mini project view in a gallery format. On the left, I'll add buttons to create tasks with preset priority, so I can capture tasks in one click. Plus a button to create a new project. On the right side, I'll add a link view of the project database at the gallery. And I'll keep it very minimal. I'll show only one property, new task. So I can create a new task directly from a project card without clutter. Now I'm going to leave some space here for the main dashboard area. Next, I'm going to create a project section with a few useful views. Active projects, all projects, and completed projects. I also adjust visible properties, add filters, and set colors based on project status so it's easy to scan. Under that, I want two calendars for tasks. One in weekly view for planning, and one in monthly view for a bigger picture. And at the bottom I keep the original databases. I don't work directly inside them from the home page. This protects the structure so I don't accidentally delete the system. Now the most interesting part. What I love about dashboard views is that we can build a whole layout extremely fast, using multiple views from different databases, not just switching view inside one database. Let's create the main view and call it dashboard. I'll start with a simple list view, task for today, and the status should not be done. I also show the status property so I can update tasks right here. Now I'll duplicate this widget to create two more. Urgent this month, overdue tasks. And I'll adjust filters and colors so urgency is visible immediately. Next, I'll want tasks this week in two formats, a list and a chart. I'll duplicate the weekly widget and switch one of them to a pie chart. By the way, have you noticed the chart now automatically pulls colors from your database? That's amazing because the chart can match your priority or status colors. Now I'll add a weekly calendar widget for tasks. Then I'll create project sections, a gallery for active projects. And a chart showing project count by status. Next, I'll create a separate list for no-date tasks. I call them someday tasks, important but not scheduled yet. And right next to that, I'll add a monthly calendar, so when I'm ready, I can drag tasks onto a date. Now I'll quick double check everything, the views, filters and settings, and I also adjust the widget width. The nice thing is you can resize these windows anytime, so it's really flexible. And once everything looks good, we just click Done. View settings lets you quickly control icon and show high titles. They also show which sources uses, so you can avoid unnecessary widgets, understand where everything comes from, and prevent duplicates. After you finish setup and click Done, the layout is basically fixed. You can't accidentally resize the widgets or drag them around you like sometimes do with normal link views or columns. And the best part is, the page itself is not locked, so you can still use the dashboard normally. For example, change a task status right here without opening the page. In other words, the layout is protected, but the dashboard is still fully usable. And now my favorite part. We can duplicate the entire dashboard layout, not just one view, but the whole setup. I'll duplicate it and make version for today, this week, this month. It would be amazing to have a global filter, but for now, we adjust each widget individually. Alright, we've done. Now let's step back and see what we built and how it works. So this is our main dashboard overview. Here I can instantly see what I need to do today, what's urgent this month, and what's already overdue. All in one place. I can update a task right here, for example change the status or adjust the priority, without opening the task page. Then down here I have tasks this week in two formats, a list for actions and a chart for a quick overview. Next, the weekly calendar helps me plan day by day. On the project side, I can quickly scan my active projects, and the project chart shows how many projects I have in each status. And finally, I keep a separate no-date/someday list. When I'm ready to commit, I simply drag a task onto the monthly calendar to assign a date. And it automatically starts showing up in the right section, like today or this week. Now let's recreate a similar system on Plus or Free. We don't have dashboard views, so we'll use tabs which are available to everyone. I'll create tabs and name the first one Dashboard. Inside this tab, I'll build a layout with columns. In each column, I'll use a callout as a container just to keep the layout tidy. But personally, I don't love using too much callouts for calendars. They take space, and on mobile, it's harder to interact. Next, I'll create two columns. Tasks this week as a list on the left and the chart on the right. Then I'll add a weekly calendar, and after that I'll set up a projects gallery plus a projects chart. And finally, I'll finish with a no date/someday task list and a monthly calendar, so I can drag tasks onto a date when I'm ready to schedule them. We'll copy the entire content we just built, paste into a second tab, and then adjust the views and filters for today. We'll do the same thing to create the this week and this month's versions. Copy the finished layout into a new tab. Then tweak the views and filters. Now you can clearly see the difference between the two setups, especially on mobile. I'd summarize it like this. With dashboard views, everything just feels more polished and more finished. The layout looks clean, consistent, and a bit more professional. It's also much faster to build because you basically assign your homepage like a set of widgets. And one thing I really love is that it's hard to mess up by accident. Once you click done, you are not randomly resizing boxes or dragging views out of place like it can happen with normal linked views, columns, or callouts. The layout stays stable, but you can still use it normally, like changing status or updating tasks. The downside is the price. Notion business isn't cheap, so if you don't have business, I wouldn't upgrade only for this. But if you already have it, dashboard views are absolutely worth using. They make a homepage easier to maintain and much harder to accidentally break. And if you want to try it, I have a link for up to 3 months of Notion Business plus AI for free. You'll just need a work email with your own domain, not Gmail or Outlook, and a business website to apply. I'll leave the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more Notion tips. See you next time. Bye!